Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.
So, more stories? A little bit?
Yes.
Let's go to 1985 and the New Life Fire. We call it the New Life Fire because it was a forest fire that came along the ridge. Sulphur Mountain is a long ridge, and MeherMount is one of the knolls on the ridge. Like that. And on October 14th, 1985, this fire started down the ridge, and winds of 40, 50 miles an hour kind of pushed it along the ridge. And it would burn everything in sight, especially the oak trees are fairly impervious to forest fire, thick bark, and so on, except if there's a lot of fuel under them, where it burns really hot and heavy for quite a while. Then it can catch the trees, can weaken them enough to catch them on fire too. So most of the trees did not burn, but there's a major exception that we'll talk about. But this fire came along the ridge and burned everything, all the buildings on MeherMount, and also burned the car that Baba was driven to MeherMount in. You know, I forgot to mention that when she drove him back to Los Angeles, he wanted to go the coast route so he could see the ocean. So she drove him along Highway 1 and right along the coast on the ocean, and he really enjoyed the sparkling water. But anyway, in 1985 with the fire, again, it started on a Monday, October 14th, and it not only burned all the buildings, and there were, as I said, there were quite a few buildings: the main house, guest house, farmhouse, the big cabin that had been brought on for the Mandali to live in 52. There were barns out, milking sheds, chicken houses, things like that, all burned. So there's a tremendous amount of debris on the property. But there were also places where it was still burning a week later. And the main one was Baba's tree. Mm-hmm. Baba's tree had been a bee tree. It had a hole in it, and inside was partly hollow. Partly. It was still alive, very much so. But it was weak because of that. And so it caught fire, and that big limb that I mentioned that I used to run on was 8 feet off the ground, collapsed, fell down like this. So it now leans at an angle from the tree. It's broken off up here, half broken off, but still alive today. And the tree, I have a photograph or two of firemen with big hoses pouring water on Baba's tree 5 days after the fire. So we went right through the beginning of the New Life, which was the 16th of October. Oh. That's why we call it the New Life Fire. Oh. And partly because New Life. What happened, the tree we swore was dead. It was totally black a few weeks after the fire.
Baba's tree?
Baba's tree. Oh. Totally black, not a leaf on it.
Oh.
We have pictures where it looks really grim. And it looked dead. And we swore, that's it, that's the end of that tree. But guess what? You go there today, big green canopy. Now, it's not the healthiest tree in the world because it's had this incredible trauma. But this tree is a survivor. This tree, you know, it grew new growth back around some of the dead wood. So you see dead wood, and then you'll see in some of the limbs, you'll see some live wood has come down around some of the dead wood. You can see the damage still all the way up to the top of the tree. You can see some of these dead pieces of wood surrounded by some live, and the leaves are all back. But it's still it experienced a lot of trauma, but it lived. So it's the tree that was dead, and yet lives. So and the New Life fits that too.
Kind of fits up with Baba lovers.
Yeah, well, furniture and all that. Yeah, it does.
And this connection way back with the New Life
Center.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
New Life Center.
And that was 46, so that was before Baba even
45.
talked about the New Life
Yes.
people, so where they came up with that name.
Yeah, I know, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But they were Baba people at the time, so they must have gotten it from him. But I don't know for sure. We don't have a whole lot of history about pre-Mehermount.
New Life was in 49, and he didn't really talk about it very much before that. It was 48, wasn't it? 48. And so
Yeah,
it's
49.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Do you want, it's from, she just says, has Sam any stories about visits with Mandali in India or the Great Darshan? Now, you don't have to you go on your own track, but...
I do,
that question
but why don't we hold those? I do have stories like that, and I'm not sure whether we'll have time for them tonight. So let's do some more on Mehermount, and then we'll see where we are. And if you folks would like me to, I might share a couple of those.
Till morning.
I'm sorry.
Till morning.
Till morning. Yes. The wine shop is open until morning. Let's celebrate. That's one thing about Agnes too. Is she enjoyed parties and celebrating. She would have just a little nip of scotch or something once in a while, or a beer in the middle of the day when you've been working really hard outside and they needed something in the hot sun. And she would work, by the way, in her 60s and even 70s. She would work as hard as any of the young, strong men who were up there. She would use post-hole diggers and do all kinds of shovels and all kinds of things. We were always working. When we went up there, we figured on physical labor was going to be part of the show. But back to the fire, 1985. I told you about the tree. There was a tremendous amount of debris all over the property. Old corrugated tin from barns, pipes and stuff under the buildings. What?
Water heaters.
Under the house there was a tremendous amount of old, it probably had water treatment stuff that probably corroded within about 20 minutes, but it was full of pipes and tanks and all sorts of things. Anyway, a tremendous amount of metal stuff and just junk of various kinds that had survived the fire. And so we used, I think, 5 of the biggest dumpsters that you could hire, and they would haul them up and set them down. You would fill them up, the walls were like this tall, and they would be as big as this room. And you'd fill them with debris, and then they would haul that one away and bring another. And so we spent number of weekends cleaning up after the fire. And something interesting happened. People from Los Angeles would come up. Some people from Santa Barbara, and some of us would be there. And these people showed up who were Sufis, but not Sufism reoriented. They were Vilayat Khan Sufis. Vilayat Khan was, I believe, the grandson of Inayat Khan, who founded Sufism that later became Sufism reoriented. But Vilayat Khan had started his own branch of Sufism.
Sufism of the West, I think. Isn't that?
Could be, I don't know the precise, you probably know more about it than I. But in any event, he didn't come. We never met him, but his people came. About 40 of them. And they helped clean the place up. And they came several weekends. They would bring lots of food, and they would clean up after themselves. And, they were really great workers. We didn't realize that they were also talking with Agnes. It took a while to figure it out, about that they wanted to use the property, or some of the property. And she was sort of, because they'd been helping her. They'd been taking her to, some of them had been volunteering to take her to the doctor and shopping and stuff. She had lost pretty much everything. And so they were reaching out to help her, but they had something in mind, which was to use the property for some of their purposes. So we were there with Rusty Bostwick and Larry Pesta and a few other people. And Rusty, I think it was, who asked them what they had in mind. And they told him more than they told Agnes, I think, because they told him that their intention was to build a special, they called it a pod, that only Vilayat Khan would be able to go on, step onto, on MeherMount. And so then we knew, okay, Agnes is never going to agree to this. That's over. And so some of us, particularly Larry Custer, was very blunt and told them, you can forget this guy. They even brought up their quarterly publication, I think it was Quarterly, and they had published a special edition with Baba's picture on one page and Vilayat Khan's picture on the other, to show us that they, revered Baba too. I mean, they were really ingratiating themselves. So, but Larry Custer made it clear to them, forget it. These two groups are not going to mesh like this. And they left. They eventually left. They weren't very happy about it all. But they had, it was as though Baba had brought them to help with all this work that he did. And then they're gone. Just like that. And Agnes, of course, would would say, now those people were sincere, and you drove them away. You, Sam, and Rusty, and Larry. You drove them away. Yeah, you're probably right.
But she was secretly relieved.
Yeah, I think she was happy. It was a chance to beat us up a little bit, but I think she also was pleased that it worked out the way. But that's the kind of give and take. Somebody asked me what Agnes was like once, and I said, I think to me she was kind of a cross between Mother Teresa and Zorba the Greek, because she had that zest for life, and fearless attitude, go out and experience things, and people would come, young Baba people would come, and she loved it. But she would also be tough with them. When Biff lived up there for a while, he has great stories about Agnes and MeherMount, great stories. And he had, when he first went, he was on silence, and I think he was dressed all in white, and he had maybe long hair. But anyway, she chewed him out and said, you go down the hill, you're not going to come in here like that. Oh, and he had stayed with a neighbor, and the neighbor thought he was really weird, and anyway, because her gate was locked until she got back or something. And so anyway, Agnes told him to go back down the hill and get off silence, giving yourself silence. What are you trying to do? And cut your hair, and I don't know what else, but told him to do 2 or 3 things. And he did them all and came back. He was one of the ones who came back. Some people would experience Agnes once and they never wanted to go up there again, because they would say, oh, she's too tough, she's too fierce, or she yelled at me, or But she was tough on people who were self-righteous, if they were sanctimonious. She called them walking on a pink cloud. Those pink cloudy people, and she would call us Baba Yahoos and say, "You Baba Yahoos, you talk, but you don't really do anything worthwhile. Why don't you go out and help some people? Lose yourself in and service to others." That kind of thing. That was Agnes. So she could be very challenging, always. She was challenging because she was so fearless and so honest, and it was tough to take at times. And we all had trouble with it at times, and we always got crosswise with her too. Anyway, there's one story I have to tell you. This is Jeff McGuire's story. We were cleaning the swimming pool, which we used to do in the 70s, through the 70s and into the 80s. Every Silence Day, on Silence, we would clean the swimming pool. The swimming pool was this big swimming pool, 12 feet deep, to about 4 feet deep. And it would get this load of leaves and all kinds of stuff in the bottom, and sludge from the sulfur water, and it would be in there for a year until it got cleaned out again. And so we would go down there with scoop shovels and tarps, and you'd scoop this sludge and bucket in either on the tarp or in the buckets, and they'd pull them up. People up would pull them up by ropes, and then take it over in the woods and dump the sludgy stuff. And then you'd scrape the walls afterwards and wash them down, and then they would refill the pool. Well, one day we were down in there, and it's an all-day job, a dirty job. And, of course, Agnes was also a stickler for, don't kill my tadpoles. Because when you get down in their little pools of water down in there would be some tadpoles. And she would have a bucket there just for the tadpoles. So you had to be very careful with your scoop shovel not to scrape them and kill the tadpoles. You had to save those tadpoles and put them in the bucket so she could put them in another place and save them. Anyways, it was always an interesting occasion. And this one time, we were all down in the swimming pool working, about 8, 9 people, and Jeff McGuire was there. People know who Jeff McGuire is, some people do. And a car drives up. We could hear it, and you could hear doors closing and people getting out. So Agnes says, "Jeff, go see who that is." Oh, writing the note. It's silence. So Jeff climbs out of the swimming pool, goes over with his little notepad, and then he comes back and he says, "Agnes, that's Beatrice Johnston, Darwin Shaw's daughter, who had been with Baba. She and her mother and father had been with Baba in 1956 at MeherMount. And, big Baba family, and they knew Baba well. And Agnes writes to Jeff, "Get rid of him." And so poor Jeff, who's very new, even to Agnes, and to Baba too, somewhat. And, this was like, what? Beatrice Johnston, I'm going to get rid of him? So he went back and he tried to do it delicately. He wrote him a note saying, this is a work day and we're all working, and so it's probably better if you come back another time, that sort of thing. And so they did, they left. But that was Agnes, get rid of him. So you can understand why her reputation was, not always easy to get along with. So where is MeherMount? I think that's probably enough about the fire. The tree, as I say, is there today and remarkable. It's hollow, and you can see the big hollow on one side all burned out inside where the honey had been in the bee tree. And maybe that's a good time for you to tell the bee story.
I'll tell a couple stories because so many people come to MeherMount who are not Baba lovers. It's really amazing. And if you spend any time there as a caretaker, you encounter that. So some of them we've captured on the website and on the story blogs. But Billy Goodrum and his wife Pamela were caretakers from 2000 to 2002. And he tells this story that, one day he's out there working and up comes this guy on a motorcycle. And he says it's straight from Central Casting, Hell's Angels. The paraphernalia, the tattoos, everything. And the guy rides his motorcycle up there and he goes, "Well, what's this place?" And Billy says, "Why don't you park your bike? And a lot of people like to go out to the tree." And so this would-be Hell's Angels fellow goes out to the tree and he's there for a while and he comes back and he gets on his bike and he leaves. Next weekend, he comes back with several of his friends. And Billy says, "What do you want?" He goes, "We're going to that cathedral tree." Another story, after Billy and Pamela, the caretakers were Ray Johnston and Elizabeth Arnold. And Ray is an energy healer, and for his work, he would always travel to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and conduct seminars and meet with clients, and he would do that 3-4 times a year for a week or two. And when he was there, he would go to the local open-air market and buy this bee pollen and bee honey, and he thought he'd never seen anything like it. And he did that for a number of years, and one time he went and the person who was selling it said, "Oh, this is the last time you'll see me because I'm leaving. I'm not doing this anymore." And Ray goes, "Well, where can I get more like this? This is really special for me. Where do I find it?" And the fellow said, I don't know. Anyway, they got to talking. And Ray, oh no, I know what it is. Yes. So Ray says, "Where do I find this?" And he said, "I don't know. Where do you live?" And Ray goes, "Well, in California." And he says, "Well, where in California?" And he said, "Oh, in Southern California." "Well, where in Southern California?" "Well, this small town called Ojai." "Oh," says the beekeeper, "where in Ojai?" And he goes, "Well, on top of a mountain, and it's sort of remote." And the guy goes, "Are you talking about the old Agnes Barron place?" And Ray goes, "Yes, I happen to live there." And the keeper goes, "Oh, very interesting. One time in my life, I didn't know what to do. And I was there, and I was sitting in the tree, under the tree, wondering what I should do with my life. And I looked up, and I saw all these bees in the beehive in the trees. And I decided to become a beekeeper. Not a Baba lover, just inspired." I'll tell another story, one more. Sam and I were temporary caretakers, maybe 2010. And MeherMount is closed on Monday and Tuesday. So usually the gate's locked, but we were going to go into town, so we'd opened up the gate, and then we came back a little bit, and we're inside the house and getting ready, and we start to go out, and we see this big Mercedes-Benz in the parking lot, and we're thinking, who came in through that gate? Don't they know that it's closed? And so I'm going to charge down and see where they are and tell them that, MeherMount's closed and they don't belong here. And coming up the path is this woman with her baby, and of course you kind of go,
Coming from the tree.
Coming from the tree, and she sees me. I said, "Hello," so I kind of toned it down, and she said, "Oh yes, I know you're closed, but we just had to come here because my husband is the consulate general of Azerbaijan, and his job is so stressful. And he was here several years ago when he remembered this tree, and we're on our way from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara for this conference, but we had to just take this detour. Well, it's like about an hour each way detour, because he just needed a few moments under that tree. Please stay. I'm so glad you're
Take your time.
Take your time. But that is the effect of Baba's tree. They don't know who MeherBaba is. They don't, and Darwin did describe this invisible fountain of spiritual energy, and so many people are touched by MeherMount.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.